What is up, everybody? It is TJ back again with episode 5 of the TJ Martino podcast. Yep, we're back, folks, and man, what a great time to be alive. I'll tell you what, the fall's coming up. Football season is back in the full swing. Leaves falling off the trees. But, it's perfect weather because it's sweatshirt and shorts weather, so great combination there. It's not too hot, not too cold yet. Perfect time. So shout out to September. Big fan of that. First of all, I want to say thank you to the 200 plus listeners of the first 4 episodes. You guys are great, and I'm doing a lot better numbers than I ever thought I would be doing at this point. So that's awesome, and I think a lot of that was Austin and how good of a guest he was, and that's awesome. So shout out to you, Austin, if you're listening. But I have another guest today, and this is an individual that I think will bring a lot of value to this show. He's a good friend of mine, and without further ado, let's bring him in. Brandon Ditchek is here with me today. Good friend of mine. How you doing, Ditch?
I'm good, bro. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Oh,
it's tough to compete with Austin. He's my day one, but we have a good show for you guys.
Oh yeah, we got some fun stuff planned. But first of all, if you're listening, hit me with the 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, I know Spotify and some of the other ones don't have rating systems, but whatever does have a rating system, hit me with that 5-star if you think this is a 5-star podcast, and drop a comment. Tell me what you think. If you give me some constructive criticism. Tell me I'm ugly. Tell me I have a great face for radio, or tell me that I'm really cool, and, whatever. Just give me your honest opinions, and then obviously subscribe as well, if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more. But without, too much BS, and, how you been? Anything you want to get off your chest before we get into things?
Dude, I'm good. Just getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, it's tough, these first couple weeks are always, of the semester are always just kind of stressful because you're trying to get a balance of, everything that's going on in your life. And, social life is, ramping up at a fast speed, with syllabus week. And you also got all these classes and all these syllabi being thrown in your face. And you're like, how am I going to balance, 6 classes or whatever, how many credit hours you're taking, whatever. How am I going to balance all the credit hours? How am I going to balance, having free time to myself? How am I going to balance family life? It's definitely, a struggle, but a struggle that we all can relate with. So
yes, sir.
Great stuff. But yeah, let's get into the, first segment here. Sights and sounds of the week, people. Yep. We're bringing it back.
Let's do it.
Yep. If you don't know what this is, sights, Brandon and I are going to go through our sights of the week. So this is movies, television, books, articles. Maybe you saw a speaker. Maybe you saw a concert. Maybe you saw a stand-up comic. It's pretty broad. Anything that you saw over the past week, we're going to break down a couple of ours. And then for sounds as well, we will do the same thing. Sounds or anything from songs, albums, other podcasts, radio shows. Maybe you heard some birds chirping outside and it made you think of something. I don't know. But pretty broad stuff. But I like that because then you're able to kind of make it your own. So without further ado, Brandon, go into your first sight of the week. Why don't you?
Okay, so it's a flashback a month ago. I knew who Quentin Tarantino was, right? Obviously, he's a huge name in Hollywood, a huge name throughout the entire world. But never seen a single one of his movies before.
Really?
Never seen a single one of his movies before a month ago. And now I've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Django, Glorious Bastards 5 times over the past 2 weeks, Pulp Fiction, Hateful Eight. I started Kill Bill. I personally wasn't a fan of it. I still got to watch Jackie Brown and what else am I missing? Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you have not seen Reservoir Dogs?
No,
that should be your next one.
I know, I've been super busy, like we were talking about before. So the first Tarantino movie I watched was Django.
Really? That was your first one?
And I'm so happy I did because it exposed me to Christoph Waltz. The guy is an animal.
He's so good in that movie.
He's an animal.
a lot of people just remember him for his like really like terrifying performance in Inglourious Basterds, but I think his Django performance is really underrated, and like not enough people talk about that, how good he was in that movie. But yeah, wow. So why'd you wait so long to get into Tarantino?
I didn't know like his movies really existed. Honestly,
Oh, really?
Obviously, I've heard of Django, and everyone says Inglourious Basterds is unbelievable. But,
Yeah.
I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was advertised so well. It
Uh-huh.
was everywhere. So I honestly just felt the need to.
I need to see Once
movies.
Upon a Time in Hollywood again. I saw it the first
I need to see
time
it too.
and I loved it. Obviously for so many reasons, the acting from DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are, they're awesome. And just like the whole like aesthetic of the movie. And I love how like it's like the movie just kind of like exists. Like it's not trying too hard to be anything. It's more of just like here's a bunch of really like great actors and some really like interesting scenes with that classic Tarantino dialogue. But what is something about Tarantino now that you've seen a few of his movies? Like what is it something that you've like really taken away from his movies? Like throughout all of them.
He loves dialogue. He loves extended dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for his movies because he mostly makes dramas and mysteries, and just the extended dialogue. If you really, really pay attention, you'll notice so many small things that, like a regular director wouldn't put in their movies. He is the most brilliant filmmaker and screenwriter I've ever, like witnessed in my entire life.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
And he's somebody that's very, polarizing to work with. Like some actors that I've heard have said like that he's a nightmare to work with, but others have been like the guy's just so brilliant. And he's never made a bad film, so it's like, at this point he's had such a tenure that like anybody's just gonna listen to anything he says, and like he has just complete creative control over everything. And I like that because you're really getting his vision and like the way he writes the parts, or he has the actors in mind of who he's writing for, so it makes it a lot easier for him to draw the best performance out of them. So I mean he's brilliant, and I love the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But what would you say of all of them is your favorite? You said Django would be your favorite.
No, Django was just the first one.
Yeah, okay, that was the first one.
My favorite. It's either between Inglourious. It is Inglourious Basterds. It's an unbelievable film. Yeah, it really is.
It is. It's great. I need to go back and check that one out again. I've seen it a couple of times, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is kind of like that in the sense that he's taking like a historical tragedy and turning it into like this is the best case scenario of what could have happened to this whole situation. So I think that's really cool how he's going back and like retroactively like rewriting history for his movies, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
A cool concept.
To piggyback on what you just said about Once Upon a Time, so when I first saw it, I was not familiar with the Sharon Tate murders. And for your listeners out there, Sharon Tate was a beloved Hollywood actress in what decade?
70s, right?
70s? I don't even
60s
know.
or 70s,
whatever.
something like that.
Yeah, maybe 60s. Whatever and she was brutally murdered by Charles Manson and his cult. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of takes a twist on that storyline. And I honestly, unfortunately, did not know that happened. Obviously, I'm familiar with Charles Manson and his cult, but I didn't know that they murdered Sharon Tate and the other people in her house. Yeah. So when I got out of the movie theater after seeing it, I was super confused because in the movie, Sharon Tate really doesn't play like a big part.
No.
She kind of, it's more just like a tribute.
That was kind of almost one of my complaints was that like you get Margot Robbie, who's just so stunning, and not only that, just a really great actress. I think she's kind of just now starting to get that recognition for that. But you get her in this movie, and like, and Sharon Tate, like that's such an interesting role, and and Tarantino kind of like shelves her for a lot of the movie without spoiling too much of it, because I mean the movie's been out for some time, but I still, for those of you who haven't seen it, like she doesn't really have too much to do in the movie, like, and that was kind of my complaint. I kind of wanted a little bit more from her. But outside of that, the movie's great. But that's really interesting though. Tarantino is definitely a very polarizing director, but a lot of people are really just starting to get into his stuff. The people that are, if you haven't checked out any of his movies, please just
watch The Hateful Eight in 70 millimeters.
Oh, and they also released the Hateful Eight. They had released like a mini series part of it. So like basically they just stretched the movie out over like however many hours and added a bunch of like deleted scenes. So you can check that out on Netflix. That's a Netflix recommendation for you.
Great movie as well.
But now let's go on to my site.
Yes, sir.
My first site is Mad Max Fury Road will be a classic movie in the next 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
Have you seen Mad Max Fury Road before?
Yes.
What are your
That
thoughts?
was with who's the main actor?
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I've seen
And
it.
Charlize Theron.
I've seen it 3 times. Yeah.
Yes. And what do you?
I loved it. A lot of people don't though. A lot of people our age don't because they don't really understand it. I thought it was a cool movie, but I really don't understand it. If you have stuff to say, I'm all ears.
Yeah. So with me, I watched the original Mad Max films with Mel Gibson when I was younger. I remember renting one of them from Blockbuster, and then it was The Road Warrior. That was the one I rented from Blockbuster, and it came out in like the 80s. It's a fun action movie, but when I heard that they were gonna make another one, and the same director who made the first 3 movies was coming back to do this one, and I'd heard all of the production hell that this movie went through, and the marketing for it wasn't too great, even though that trailer was fantastic. I just feel like a lot of people didn't really understand what the movie was. So when it came out, it didn't make that much money. But I saw the movie in theaters, and I didn't really know too much of what to expect, and I walked out like, holy shit, that was one of the best movies I've seen of the decade, and that was in high school. I think it was like 2015 or something. And I still agree with that statement because I own the movie on Blu-ray and I recently watched it, and that's why I wanted to add it here. And the movie's freaking brilliant, honestly. I think it is. And I get the arguments of, oh, there's not a lot of dialogue, like there's not a lot of character, there's not a lot of this. And yes, I agree with that 100%. But for this kind of movie, it's more about the atmosphere. It's more about the set pieces. It's more about the visuals than and the story doesn't really require a lot of dialogue. It's very simple. People are running from tyranny to get to somewhere better. Like that's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
And what they were able to do, the stunts. Shout out to the stuntmen in that movie, man. Crazy stuff. They're swinging off the poles and the cars and flipping and jumping and explosions everywhere. If you like action movies and you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, please check it out. And I think it's going to be a classic in the next 15 years because of just the filmmaking that went into it, how beautiful it was. The acting is good, really good. Yeah, I love the movie. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about it. But what about you? What's your next site?
Let's talk about Andrew Luck's retirement speech and just his retirement in general.
Yeah,
crazy.
We talked a little bit about this last week, but
Did
we didn't talk about the speech.
Okay. Did you watch the speech?
No, I have not.
Dude, not for the faint-hearted. I was so upset.
Really? So the Luck retirement really screwed you up?
I mean, he's been like one of my favorite players to watch, like ever since he entered the league. Like he's such an outspoken guy, like so humble, so mature.
Yeah,
just everything he does. So he's
really like one of the poster childs for professionalism in the NFL. He was, at least. Now he's not anymore. But and on the other side of the spectrum, you look at like guys like Antonio Brown and all of the drama that he's bringing to that Oakland Raiders franchise, which I'm so happy my Eagles did not gamble on him because that was rumored. And that guy, I can't with him, man. He's just so petty and entitled. And it's like, yeah, you're an amazing talent, but you're still, this is your job and you're not treating it like a job. And Andrew Luck did treat it like a job. Yeah. And so for that, the retirement itself, I kind of mentioned it last week, but I agree with the decision. But I think I don't know whether or not he wanted to announce it before that preseason game or if it just leaked. Who knows?
Yeah, do you know what happened?
Austin was saying it was leaked, but I'm not sure.
It was by Schefter.
That's what I heard too. But if it was leaked, then that just sucks. But if he released it, then that was just bad timing on his part. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the Colts will just fall apart. But anything stick out to you from that that you want to talk about?
So me and my roommates watched it. that night, like live.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one part that really stuck out to us, and it was so funny, but it was so sad. But to us, it was so freaking funny. At one point, like he like starts thanking his like the people in his life that helped him get to this point where he was, and so he's like, just want to thank my mom, my dad, and pauses for like 12 seconds, and then like with a super low voice, the guy just goes, Uncle Will, and then he pauses again and continues to thank people.
Shout out to Uncle Will.
Can I play it?
Yeah,
You
if you
think
could.
it'll work?
Yeah, we could try it. Yeah, just play that part if you can find it. And in the meantime, while he's pulling that up, I'm going to be talking about my next site, which kind of goes into my sounds as well, and that is the Bohemian Rhapsody movie that came out last year is overrated. This is kind of a hot take because this movie got a lot of Oscar love over the past year. Because obviously Rami Malek, he deserved that Oscar. He was great, but the movie won like best editing. It won. Let me see how many Oscars it won. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ramble here, but
I haven't seen it.
You have not seen Bohemian Rhapsody.
I mean, I've refused to.
Why?
I'm not a big musical guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched like the first 10 minutes. I wasn't a fan.
But Bohemian Rhapsody is not really that much of a musical. It's more just like a life story about.
Was it?
Queen. I would say like Rocket Man is more of a musical. That the Rocket Man, the Elton John movie that came out this year, made by the same director actually, but the movie though I found it to be pretty overrated in the sense of like it's a good movie, and I will say that. And by the way, it won 4 Oscars for Best Actor, Rami Malek, Best Editing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. And this movie should not have won for Best Editing, first of all. I want to say that. A Quiet Place should have won. And then I saw all over the internet, the big thing was like that one scene where they're talking to Littlefinger. The guy who plays Littlefinger, he plays like their manager, I guess, and like they're meeting with him, and there's like 1,000 cuts in there, and it was super choppy. Notice that again on my second viewing. The movie itself just is kind of generic, and that's like my thing. It's a good movie, but it's not as good as everybody's saying it is. So it's good, but overrated.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into one of my sounds, which is Freddie Mercury's birthday was yesterday. He would have been 73. So I kind of wanted to go through like some of my favorite underrated Queen songs, because everybody knows the classics: Bohemian Rhapsody, Don't Stop Me Now, Another One Bites the Dust, Under Pressure, We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You. Those are all great tracks. But nobody really talks about some of the more deeper cuts that Queen has released. So I kind of want to give like 3 or 4 of my favorite tracks. One of them being Cool Cat. This track was like really, I like it because it's like super chill, and it's like just a guitar and Freddie just singing straight falsetto. It's kind of like this vibey track. It's off of their 1982 album Hot Space. It's a really good one. It's kind of a deep cut. Chill, laid back kind of track. But the thing about Queen that I always loved is how they're kind of like a jack of all trades. They do all sorts of type of music, hard rock and some poppy, some ballads, some slow, emotional singing tracks. They do a lot of stuff. So but Cool Cat is one of my favorites. Also, I like Love of My Life. That's kind of a classic one as well. Great stuff there. Don't Stop Me Now, like I said. Fat Bottom Girls. Just a lot of great tracks on here. And I don't know. I don't really know what I was going with this segment, but I just wanted to name some of my favorite Queen tracks and shout out to Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
But what about you? What's your next... do you have the Andrew Luck thing?
I do.
Okay.
First, I want to say I think I do fall into the category of the generic Queen song lovers. I don't really know.
So I mean, I do too, though. Like, I love their classic music. Like, I love
they're sick.
They are, and now they're like. I saw them in concert a couple weeks ago, and that was really cool with Adam Lambert. They were really good.
Where'd you see them?
At the Nationwide.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. Because I had to work it.
He's crazy good singer.
Adam Lambert, yes, and he was like the perfect person to throw in there for them to tour because like he still has that like flamboyant like energy that Freddie Mercury used to have,
Yeah.
but like he wasn't trying to be Freddie Mercury. He was just doing his own version of the songs, which I appreciated because it's like I don't want to hear a Freddie Mercury impression. I want to hear something new.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a great job. So shout out to Adam Lambert.
Cool.
But yeah, so what about this Andrew Luck thing?
All right,
Let's
you want
hear
to hear it?
Yeah, so what is it, Uncle Will?
So he starts to thank like his family, his friends, whatever, and then pauses for like 12 seconds, and then in a super, super low, like he's about to burst out into tears. It's super sad, but I thought
you thought it was funny at the time.
I still think it's funny. And if our friends listen, when they listen, they're gonna crack up.
Okay, play it. We're doing an old laptop to mic here. Shout out to our budget.
All right.
In conclusion, my folks who aren't here tonight, but Mom, Dad, Mayor, Emily, Dad. Uncle Will.
Just nothing.
Uncle Will. No, but he's always been kind of like interesting. Like I feel like he's just like I don't even know how to describe him. Like he's just kind of like weird. Like, but if you're that good of an athlete, you're weird.
Yeah.
Like if you're that good at anything, you're weird. I'm weird.
Everyone's weird in their own way. No,
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, he's probably one of the best like stand-up guys I've ever.
No, he
witnessed in my
is.
entire life.
Shout out to him, man. He was a great quarterback too.
Yeah.
Very underrated. And I don't blame him for retiring. I mean, he literally got abused for like years. They never got him anybody to help him help block for him. I mean, he was just fed to the dogs like every weekend. So,
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Andrew Luck. Have a great retirement, even though
Yeah. Enjoy your
it
life.
ended in a very
Hope to see you
negative
soon.
way. You had a great career. So, let's move on to
Another one, or you want to do sounds?
well, this last one transitions into sounds,
Right,
so
you
let's
go.
do it. The Travis Scott Netflix documentary.
Let's talk.
Okay, now we're really getting into it here.
What did you think?
Okay, some backstory on me with Travis. My friends have all kind of like agreed that I'm wrong in this case, and I'm definitely in the minority, but I do not like Travis Scott's music personally. I think it's just super boring. Every song sounds the same, and we'll get into this later, but for me, I understood the appeal, but for me, he just has never done anything for me. And I've tried so hard, and you'll hear as I continue to try. But the documentary itself I found to be really interesting because of how big Travis is now and how he has just erupted into one of the biggest artists today. And I liked the documentary. It showed like how hectic his concerts really are, and I've been to a couple of his concerts, including the Lollapalooza Astroworld release concert.
Wow.
I was at that concert, and it's in the documentary, and I remember it was just so hot there, and we were decently close to the stage from what I can remember, but I just remember seeing kids being carried out like because they had passed out in the crowd because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see like towards the stage people just moving. You could feel the ground like shaking from people jumping, and it was a crazy atmosphere. And I'm just like, I remember just sitting there like, I'm like, how are people getting this hype to this music? Like I was just like, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm in the minority. I get that, but yeah, he's just never really done anything for me. But the documentary itself, I found to be really, really good. What did you see it? You saw it, right?
I saw it.
What did you thought? What did you think?
I mean, I'm a huge Travis guy.
Okay.
And to add what you were saying about the concerts, yeah, I don't get why people are so hyped when they see him in concert, especially like his music is like 90% like pretty chill.
Right.
And then there's like 10% like sicko mode and
he has the occasional bangers, Antidote, those.
Right. But yeah, the documentary, I liked it. There was no plot, which kind of pissed me off. Like there was nothing to like. They didn't formulate a story. They just kind of showed the background scenes of him recording Astroworld and like his concerts and like him inciting riots. That's basically it.
Yeah, allegedly. Which I remember when that happened.
That was pretty cool. Where he like ran away from the cops. And then like He didn't do anything wrong.
Right. It was just like, you can't really arrest a guy for playing his music. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, you can't arrest somebody for doing their job, I
Yeah.
guess. Unless your job is
Yeah.
illegal, but whatever.
You know what part I thought was cool, though?
What?
It was very, very brief, but, I mean, I'm sure everyone saw it when he was talking to Kanye.
Yeah.
Like,
And
that's so
Kanye was
cool.
in that car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
a cool little
they're
moment.
like boys, probably.
They are boys. I mean, Travis was a derivative of Kanye.
I know.
And I'll get into that when I talk about Birds in the Trap here. But the documentary, I liked, one of the scenes I liked was when he was talking to his production crew. This was probably my favorite scene in the whole documentary, and
that was a good scene.
he was just going off on his crew and just. The camera needs to be facing me at this time, and the roller coaster is going too high, and I can't see this and that, because his production, shout out to his production team. That's one thing I can say about Travis, is that I don't love his music, but damn, man, his production, his concerts are really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like that giant roller coaster for Astroworld, and the lights and the videos, all of it is really, really well done.
Yeah.
So, for that, man, he pours a lot of money into that, and I like that scene so much because it really showed, like, this guy has a grasp on the production side of it too, like, and that's tough. It's hard because there's a lot, like, it's the minute details like that, like the camera being a close up on him for this particular song, like that detail can make or break a show. Like, and I've, obviously since my internship, I've been working a lot of concerts. I've been able to see, like, the behind the scenes production, and walking through the backstage, and there's all these boxes of just wires and cables and lights and speakers and animatronics and whatever. So it's like there's so many small parts that go into this, and I liked how Travis had such a grasp on that. And some of my friends that were watching are like, why is he getting so worked up? I'm like, because his name is on it. Like, this is a Travis Scott concert, so if something goes wrong, it's on his ass.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would be like that too. I'd be like, yo, like, this needs to be the way I want it to be because this is my show.
Yeah.
So for that, I thought that was really a really cool moment, and definitely was a highlight on that. But I feel like some of his stuff was a little bit, like, amplified for the sake of the documentary. Like,
how so?
Like some of the concerts, like, I don't know. I feel like they did a good job of making them seem a lot crazier than they were. I don't know. But maybe they were crazy. I wasn't there for some of them, but from what I saw, like, the concert, like, reason I'm saying that is like some of the Travis concerts that I've been to just have been kind of underwhelming. Like, when he was at Breakaway a couple of years ago, that was just not great. I mean, he was trying his hardest, but people just weren't really that into it, I feel like. But I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I wasn't close enough to the stage, I guess. I don't know. But I did like, and I also like how he, like, I swear, there was like 20 different shots of him stage diving. Like, does he do that? Like, and just
throwing,
and then, like, literally throwing, like, fans into the crowd. Like, I thought that was really, really fun. And shout out to Travis.
That has not been stopped yet in this, like, day and age.
Honestly,
I'm fine with it, but
honestly, no, it's cool.
Softies out there,
and like him, like, standing in the crowd with his microphone, like, singing. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, the guys are wild.
Yeah, it was a good documentary. I thought it was fine, and the stuff with him and Kylie was cool, and what's the daughter? Their daughter, Stormy. Thank you. Yeah, that was all cool. So, it was an entertaining documentary. It wasn't anything crazy, but for a documentary about Travis, I enjoyed it.
Good.
But moving into my sound that relates to Travis Scott, revisiting. This is a sub segment of sounds, and this is basically where I'll be revisiting an album that whether or not I liked it or not depends, but for this one I didn't at the time, and I just revisited it, and it's Travis Scott's Birds in the Trap, Sing McKnight. This I have a controversial view on this album.
I'm looking right now. I've downloaded every single song except for the interlude.
So
fire out.
This is going to be a very interesting conversation because when let's some background on Travis. I gave some earlier, but a little bit more. Rodeo. I really like Rodeo. I think that's a good project. I do. For the most part, he does sound a lot like Kanye at that point in time, and that was kind of my biggest thing with it. Is like, this just sounds like rip off Kanye, like dollar store Kanye West. That was kind of like, but I liked how Rodeo, like, had some really catchy, fun tracks on there. Like Antidote is a fun track and is arguably one of the best bangers of the decade. And Piss in Your Grave with Kanye, even though he sounds like Kanye on that track, I still like the track. What is it? Mom Maria, I'm Drunk with Justin Bieber rapping on there and stuff. I was like, this is cool. Yeah, like it had some good moments, but I did think the album was just
let's get drunk.
Yeah, I did think the album just was lacking a little bit on the originality side. So but for the most part, I'd say it was a good album, Rodeo. But now going into Birds in the Trap, I really didn't know what to expect. And I remember when it came out, I listened to it and I was just like, this is terrible. I thought it was terrible. When I first listened to it, I was like, no, this is boring. It sounds like the same track for an hour and there's just not a lot of range here vocally. There's not a lot of
even with
Goosebumps
and Kendrick, that song is sick.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But just, from first listen, I was just like, nah, not for me. But so, everybody, has always been praising this album since it came out. This is one of Travis's best projects, maybe his best project. And I'm just like, I don't get it. That was like my thing. And I wanted to get it so bad because I want to like him. I like him as a person. I love his style. I love his whole aesthetic, but his music just for me has never worked. And, so going back and listening to this now, because this is the first time I listened to this whole album all the way through since I first listened to it. And, I was like thinking, oh, this is going to suck. I'm not going to like this at all. And, I was pretty surprised that I felt the exact same way. I think that this project is pretty boring. But I don't think it's as bad as I originally said it was. But for the most part, I don't know, man. And even after hearing Astroworld and things that come later, I do think Astroworld is better than this. I do think this still is his worst project. But I do like it a little bit more than when I first listened to it. I will say that. I don't think it's good still. I don't think I'm ever going to really listen to this stuff very much anymore. But I will say that Travis's ability to like put songs together, I think, is really, really like overlooked. I think his ability to like compose songs and to get like a vibe. And at this time I can say at least he has his own sound at this point. Like he no longer sounds like Kanye on this track. He sounds like Travis. So that's one thing I can say that is a positive about this album is that he definitely finally had his own sound and his own vibe at this point. But what did you think of this album? Obviously, you said you have every track on here. What are your favorite tracks on this thing?
My favorite tracks. Good question. I love Lose. The Ends is great. The first song on the project is great. I'm a big Nav guy, so Beebs in the Trap is great. Yeah, I like probably around last year I got really, really into music and I started listening to albums when they came out. Like Travis, I really didn't discover per se until like he came out with like Astroworld. Yeah. So I kind of just downloaded songs like as I listened to them. Like I really did not focus on this album as much as you did. Like you were way more into music than I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had no idea that you didn't like Travis.
Yeah, and like it's not that I like Travis songs. Travis kind of goes into the category for me of just like rappers that I understand the appeal, but I just can't connect with it. There's just not enough here for me. There's not enough and I'm not saying that Travis has to be some sort of, lyrical genius, but like at least I want some effort, like something like interesting to talk about. Like it sounds like he talks about the same stuff, and like the auto tune and all of that. Just, for me, I'm not a big auto tune fan personally. I think it's kind of a cheap way to make music. But it's definitely his sound and he definitely has kind of made it his own. So I can commend that. But some of my favorite tracks on here, the opening track I didn't love. It has Andre 3000, and I'm a huge Outkast fan, but still nothing for me. Even Andre 3000 feature is not great. And then, but if I had to say my favorite tracks on here, probably Beebs in the Trap. I like this track a lot, and look, I think Nav is the most boring and generic rapper of all time. Maybe him and Gunna are like runner-ups right there.
I love Gunna.
Yeah, like I said, still in the minority there. But I think they're just so boring and generic. But this track was the first Nav track I'd ever heard, and it's still my favorite Nav track I've ever heard. I think he is so dope on here, and I think he made the beat for it too.
Yeah.
I love the whole, using Justin Bieber as a metaphor for cocaine. I think that's just hilarious, and I like the track. I think it's a banger. It's a club banger. It's fun, and it's definitely one of Travis's stronger tracks on here. A lot of people love the Through the Late Night with Kid Cudi. Track does nothing for me.
Coordinates great.
Yeah, not for me. I think that one's a snooze fest. Way Back is fine. I think that one's kind of catchy. But another one of my favorites is Sweet Sweet. I actually think this track is a lot of fun. All she wanna do is the cocoa. I like that track. I think it's fun. That's one of my favorite ones. And then there's Outside with 21 Savage. Nah, all right. Whatever, that's fine. I don't have much to say about that. And then you get Goosebumps, like you mentioned, with Kendrick. Definitely one of my favorite ones. This one was a huge hit for him.
Yeah.
Kind of helped propel him into the mainstream more. I mean, obviously he was in the mainstream at this point, but really helped propel him towards where he is today. And this was a huge track for him. Huge record. And I love the Kendrick feature. I love Kendrick. So, yeah, definitely a lock there. And then First Take with Bryson Tiller is another one I actually liked. I liked this one when it originally came out. This was like my favorite track on there when it first came out. It doesn't really have the staying power for me that it did at that time, but it's still a fine track. And then, but also Pick Up the Phone. That's another one I like too. I thought that one was fun. And then Wonderful with the Weeknd's okay. But the rest of this thing, man, is just a snooze fest. And honestly, this is good music to go to sleep to. That's what I would say. If I wanted to take a nap and listen to music, this is what I would put on. Because there's just not a lot of energy here. The beats on here are kind of boring. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of generic to its own fault. But for people that love it, great. I wish I was you. Like I said, I wish I liked Travis. I wish. I've tried. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to listen to everything he releases. And even after this with Astroworld, I didn't like Astroworld personally, but I liked it more than this. And I thought it was more complete, it felt like there was more effort put into that than there was into this. This just felt like something that was made within like a couple of days or a week or whatever.
I think a lot of people like Travis more than they should just because his brand is incredible.
That was what I was gonna say. That was gonna be my next question. Was why? I want to understand why, because you like Travis, and a lot of our friends like Travis, and I just kind of want to know why do you like Travis?
Yeah. Well, personally, he's not in if I was gonna give you my top 3 artists that I listen to, he's not in it.
Okay.
But I do love Travis.
Yeah.
And I love his he just has a positive message. He really does. He just spreads positivity. And that's just a huge thing for me. I'm sure that's a huge thing for the general population of people. Yeah,
sure. I get that. But yeah, I wish that his music was a little bit more exciting. That's all I'm going to say about it. And I feel like...
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, sure. And, so that's Travis Scott. And now we're going to get into my last... Wait, do you have another sound you want to get into? And then we'll get into one more, because I want to talk about Post Malone.
Yeah. Let's talk about a podcast.
All right, let's hear it.
So NPR, National Public Radio, is a huge company. Are you familiar with them?
Mm-hmm.
NPR, yeah.
I sure am.
They do a ton of podcasts. They do How I Built This, stuff about the stock market. I don't listen to that. But anyway, I just discovered this podcast a month ago. It's called the Hidden Brain Podcast. You ever heard of that?
I've never heard it, no.
It is incredible. This guy, the reporter for NPR, his name is Shankar Vedantam, and throughout the podcast, every podcast is a different episode with a different guest, and he uses science and storytelling, and he talks about human nature and human behavior, choice making and relationships. And I've been taking notes on his podcast. Do you want to hear about? I'll tell you about the one that I have found most interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I actually tweeted it last week, but this episode was about like human nature and how humans have evolved since since we were primates and we evolved to where we are today. And he brought on this psychologist called Ming Ku. I mean, I'm not sure if that person is really famous, but they're a good speaker. And basically, they talked about how humans weren't made to live in the environment that we're living in the modern era. Like, it is damaging, like, our mental health, our physical health. Like, we were made to live in the jungle, in the forests, in wherever, someplace natural, not in a concrete jungle, you know? So if you look around and people's mental health is all messed up, like, there's a perfectly reasonable cause for that, and it's because we're not made to be living where we are right now. Like, it's just we're essentially killing ourselves. We are killing ourselves.
So, did they bring up any possible alternatives for this, or is it just like this is a problem and we're not going to escape it?
Yeah. Good question. Yes, they did a study where they put two groups of people in a building, in two separate buildings. One building was filled with plants and other like green life, and the other building was just a regular office building, whatever. And they did a study, and the study showed that there's a positive correlation between a green natural setting and positive thinking, behavior, and health, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was sick. Like, they did another study in which like the office or the setting that you're in, there were more trees, bushes, general nature, and it led to a decrease in crime rate. So in a setting that had more natural life, there was a decrease in crime.
I probably because there's less people. Do you think that had something to do with it, maybe? I don't know.
No, I think it's just because it could be, but I think it's because when you go out, look at the Oval at Ohio State. Like, when you go out there, I mean, for me personally, I'm like, damn, this is sick. Like, I love nature personally, and I'm just so grateful for it. So when I'm around it, it just calms me down. It doesn't, like, if I'm aggressive and I walk and sit under a tree, like, open up a book and, like, just chill out or meditate or do whatever and just relax. Like, I don't feel any urges to be crazy. Right?
Yeah, I think, like, congestion of, like, big cities, I think the big buildings don't help. I feel like they kind of almost box people into areas, like streets, kind of. The organization of a lot of the ways cities are planned is almost, like, a detriment in the sense that it, like, traps people into that environment. So I get what you're saying in the sense of, like, sometimes just escaping the hecticness of metropolitan areas can definitely, like, help calm the nerves. So.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So, anything else from that you would like to share? Or?
Sure. So humans have been around for a few million years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were
250,000 years. But yeah, continue.
Are you sure? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever. That's not what this podcast said. I should have done my research. Sorry. So
Maybe
for most of the time humans have been alive, they've lived in a natural world, relying on nature for food and shelter, and our basically what the podcast was saying was that our shift to the overflowing cities and freeways and congestion has been so recent and so dramatic that we're just, like, still getting used to it. Like, we may act like we are, but we're not, like, mentally used to living like this. It's taking a toll on us.
I agree with that in the sense of, like, yeah, it's not natural. You know, for thousands of years we haven't had the technology at our fingertips that has just consumed our lives. Like, it's something as simple as a cell phone, you know, it's just takes up so much time a day. Like, you ever looked at the screen time on your phone? You know how they do that now where they track how much you use each app? It's absurd. I'll go on there and be like, oh, you've been on Twitter for 3 hours today. And I'm like, really? I guess. All right. Like, and it's kind of concerning because it's like, I feel like I should be doing something else, but it's like, it's kind of the world we live in. Like, we're almost like a product of our environment at this point. Like,
we are.
So what advice would you give to somebody that's, like, trying to escape?
Cool. Yeah. So we're technically wild animals. Humans. Humans are wild animals. Mm-hmm. We are, and we're just the top of the food chain.
Right.
Just get out and enjoy life, Go get some sun every single day that you can, because the sun, in large doses, yes, it's harmful, but if you're out in the sun for 15, 20 minutes, reading a book, chilling, drinking a ton of water, like meditating, whatever it is, like there's so many benefits to being under the sun and getting out and just enjoying nature. I don't know. So I'm assuming most of your listeners are like college students.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your college campuses are probably fucking gorgeous. Am I allowed to curse?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, college campuses are gorgeous. You're paying a lot of money to go to a school, and they're putting a lot of money into the setting that you go. So just get out and enjoy. Take a walk at night, in the morning. Do whatever you need to do. Just enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. Great. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to check out more NPR stuff because I've heard a lot of good things about them. But now into my final sound before we get into something else. I wanted to talk about the newest Post Malone project, people.
Let's do it.
Hollywood's Bleeding. Somebody stop it. Hollywood's Bleeding is the newest Post Malone project. Post Malone, if you didn't know, is one of the biggest pop, rap, country, whatever you want to call them, indie rock artists of our generation. And, a little bit of background on Post. His first album, Stoney, was one that I found to be kind of poorly made, but I could see the potential. Like the mixing, some of the beats on there weren't great, but the promise was there, and Post showed enough to me so I was like, this is good. Like I can see that this guy could become something. Like he definitely showed enough to me where I was like, this guy's interesting. But then you get into Beer Bongs and Bentleys, which was his second album, and I was like, maybe if this guy gets more money behind him, he could have a better project. And I was right, because that project is really, really good. And I still really enjoy some of the tracks on there. Zach and Codeine is an underrated track. Obviously, Better Now was a big radio hit for him. The Sway Lee thing on there was good. Even though that Rock With Me Like Jumanji bar was yikes. But some of the bars on here, on this new one, yeah, we'll get into it. But and then, I thought, he did a good job of like balancing, some of the guitar ballads with the trap inspired tracks, and then even some of the poppier stuff. I thought he just had a really good balance on there. The production was a lot prettier, a lot better, a lot more expensive, which really worked to his benefit. And Post is a really good singer, I think. And I think just as a songwriter, he's not great, but he's serviceable. But so going into this project, I was hoping for more growth. I was hoping for more depth, more growth, maybe, expanding upon his music. And unfortunately, we got none of that on here. This is the worst project Post Malone has ever come out with. I will say that right now. And I've listened to it one time, so I mean, my thoughts on this could change. Who knows? Maybe in the next year or so, I end up loving this album. Who knows? But as of today, Friday, September 6th, you'll be hearing this on Sunday night, Sunday, September 8th. But this is the 6th. And as of today, I don't like this project at all. Everything from the opening track, which tries to, Hollywood's Bleeding, the title track, opening track, tries to blend like this, the sing-songy guitar balladry that Post has made so many songs like this with that trap, and tries to do it in the same track, and it just sounded really jarring and bad. Saint Tropez, that track is bad. It has a terrible bar on it. The one that I heard, that what was it? Her money ball like Brad Pitt. Ugh, yikes!
You don't like that?
No, her money ball
corny.
like Brad Pitt. Nah, but and then Enemies with DaBaby. DaBaby does not fit on this beat at all. It's too poppy.
So? We'll debate that.
1,000 Bad Times is just like a track saying, I've had all this terrible stuff happen to me. Why not more? It's a pop track. Circles is actually a track I really like, though. It's a single off this thing, really good. Die For Me with Future and Halsey, really one of the worst combinations of the year. Future has one of the worst features of the year on here, with some awful falsetto singing that just sounds terrible. And the hook on here is pretty uninspired. The lyrics on this entire project, outside of like 2 or 3 songs, are just so bland and boring and unoriginal. On the Road is a banger with Meek Mill and Lil Baby. Lil Baby actually has a better feature on here than Post does. He does more with this than Post does. And Meek Mill does his Meek Mill thing. It's not a terrible track or whatever. Then you get Take What You Want with Ozzy Osbourne and Travis Scott. Like, I was like, just looking at the track list, I was like, this is a disaster in the making, and it was. Just those two clashing of sound, clashing Travis Scott with Ozzy Osbourne and Post is just, it was so jarring and so gimmicky. I'm Gonna Be is forgettable. The SZA track is forgettable. And then you get Sunflower, which was a really, really good track off Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He had to include that one on here with Sway Lee. I like that track a lot. It's fun. Internet, where he talks about just corny lyrics about the, Instagram scene and how he's tired of the internet and whatnot. And you get some, you get some good, not good, but some experimental flows on here from Post, which was something I appreciate, at least, because he takes very little risks on this project. Goodbyes with Young Thug was a track that was leaked. I actually like this track. And then, obviously, Wow, which is like the trap banger. But my question to you is now, bringing you into this, have you listened to any of these tracks?
I listened to basically all of them.
Because it came out last night.
Last night.
Yeah.
I did listen to them last night.
Okay. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, did you listen to them on good speakers?
I listened to them in my headphones.
And they're good speakers?
Yes.
Yeah. The beat, he always has good beats, but I agree with you on some of them. They're just general. They're generic,
so boring and so, like, generic. And I'm just like, this whole sound of, like, infusing indie rock with trap is just so stale at this point. Like, how many rappers have you seen do this sound now? And including Post, his last two projects were this sound.
Yeah.
And, like, I get that that's kind of, like, his thing, but at the same time, like, give me something new. Like, this all just sounds like throwaway tracks from his older projects. Like, that's honestly what this sounds like. It sounds like this was just thrown together, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, and like and the reason it's kind of frustrating is because I like Post Malone. Like, I love his personality. He seems really fun. Like, I saw him in concert. He wasn't good. He sounded like he had done like 3 shows earlier that day because he was just, his voice just sounded strained out of, it just sounded like it was rotten at that point. But I do think he is really talented, and that's why it's frustrating, because this is just so, and it's kind of the same thing with Travis too. It's kind of like the same frustration in the sense of like, I just don't get it, but yeah, like I was saying with Post Malone, this whole project for me was just pretty bland, and for that, anything you want to say on it?
Yeah, I hope it'll grow on me.
Me too.
I do like 5 or 6 tracks. I do like Saint Tropez. I like Enemy. I like DaBaby. I think he's a good rapper.
I do too.
Since Streamville came out,
I do.
I've been high on him. Die For Me is okay. I personally love Take What You Want. I didn't know Ozzy Osbourne was gonna be in it, and when like he first came on and started humming or playing the guitar, whatever he did, I was like, damn, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. Travis's part was okay. I agree with you. Staring at the Sun with SZA is super underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
She's really not that good. I
really, I'm a fan of hers.
Sometimes
I really like her.
I like her song "The Weekend" with Calvin Harris. Great song.
Oh yeah, The Weekend, the Calvin Harris remix. Yeah, that's a fun track.
Yeah,
and I like Broken Clocks too. That's another one that I like by her. So check that one out. But
yeah, I mean everyone's a critic, so
everyone's a critic, including me. But yeah, for this whole thing, man, it's pretty disappointing because I wanted more from this, and it was underwhelming. But yeah,
I'll let's do it a few more times. See what's up.
Yeah, we'll definitely try it. Yeah, and we'll try it out. But real quick, we're gonna go into one more section here for the next 5 minutes, and we're gonna talk about nutrition and our lives. And
let's do it.
You are very active on Twitter. You're always talking about inspirational stuff. I always see your tweets, and they always make me smile.
Thank you.
So I kind of want to talk about some of the habits that we get into.
Yeah.
What are some of your good habits? Some of the habits that you're happy that you're a part of, and what are some of the habits that you are not so happy and you want to change?
Good question. I think my favorite habit that I stick to every single day is reading every single day. Ever since like 2 semesters ago, I really have never picked up a book, and I read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And he is the founder and former CEO of Nike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wrote a memoir on his experience, and it was probably the best book I've ever read up to this point. I've probably read like 20 books over the past 9 months.
Really?
Yeah. So I really, really stick to this habit of reading 10 to 20 pages of whatever book I'm reading a day. And right now I'm rotating between like 3 or 4 novels, about anything. Right now I'm reading a book about astronomy. Next I have a book about the quantum realm and astrophysics. Then I'm going to read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. But yeah, 10 to 15 pages a day. That's my favorite habit. What about you?
Mine would probably be coffee and exercise. First of all, coffee. Are you a coffee guy?
Yeah. Definitely.
For me, I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day.
And this is your bad habit or your good habit?
It's a good habit.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, let's see where you go.
And the reason is because I get why it could be bad because it's a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine, but at the end of the day, like, I have long days, and it is by my own choosing, but I like having long days, and the best thing for getting me through a long day is coffee, because, like, it gives me enough energy to where I can, like, focus on something, because I have trouble focusing on things sometimes, and, like, it helps me with that, and, like, also just overall performance, just, it gets me moving, like, you know, like,
yeah,
it really puts that pep in my step that gets me going, and then exercise as well. Coffee kind of works with that as well. But yeah, I've been trying to get back into working out, which is something that I loved doing last school year, but this summer I couldn't get a membership to the RPAC Fitness Center here on campus for reasons that, you know, credit hour reasons and whatever. So yeah, I'm just glad to be back and doing that, and it makes me feel better every day because, you know, it sucks going there and actually. But once you start doing it, it's like one of those things that, like, once you start doing it, you start liking it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to, like, get into a routine, and that's kind of like what gets into you know, one of the things that I'm happy about is being able to have a routine and, like, get through the day. But what's a bad habit, real quick, that you think you should?
I guess it might not necessarily be a habit, but I tend to overthink a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
a lot of things, and I tend to be really, really hard on myself.
Okay.
And I'm working on it actively, and I think it's great that I'm actually, like, reflecting on this because it shows how much I've come. That, like, I'm actively thinking about how I'm being too hard on myself, and I'm thinking how, like, I can change the way I think. Yeah. Like, just the other day, like, I wrote about this on Twitter as well. I write a lot of my experiences throughout the day on Twitter, so we'll give you guys our stuff after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in this awesome class called Coaching Football, and it's taught by Ryan Day along with some other coaches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's at the WAC, the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and it's incredible. They bring in tons of really cool speakers.
Yeah.
So this guy, his name is Coach Matus. I forgot the guy's. Maybe it's Phil. I forget. But he's like the athletic director at the WAC, and he's yoked. He's like great mindset, positive, whatever. Loved his message. He spoke to us, and my first instinct was to, like, go up to this guy and introduce myself and tell him what I loved about his presentation. And we talked for literally like 2 minutes, exchanged emails, and I left. On the drive home, all I could think about was, I could have asked him what his favorite book was. I could have, like, asked him to set up a meeting where we could talk more or whatever. And I was just being super hard on myself. But then I realized 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had the courage to go up to this man.
Yeah.
I would have been way too scared. I probably would have just went home and probably beat myself up for it even more than I was for going up to him. So, yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes just trying something, just going out there and doing it, and not thinking about it can be the best thing for you because it just gets you out of your own head. So that's totally something that I struggle with too. But my biggest bad habit, real quick, is biting my fingernails. I have had this addiction since I was a child, and I have been trying so hard to quit, but I can't.
Wow.
And it's kind of screwed up because it's like, it's self-mutilation in a way. If you really think about it like that, you're ripping a piece of yourself off. Like, if you really think about it, that's really what it is. Like,
I have no idea.
And not only that, the germs on your fingers, like, I don't know, maybe it's what's getting me sick because I don't know. I'm always feel like I'm sick. I don't know. And then, my fingers get all cut up. You ever got those, like, sores and rips on your fingers from biting your fingernails?
I've never.
I can't. Yeah. See, you're lucky because I'm caught in this terrible cyclical process, and, like, sometimes I'll be doing it and I won't even think about it. And I'll be like, oh, great, I'm biting my nails now. And like it happens a lot when I get anxious or like, and the coffee probably doesn't help with that. But that's definitely a bad side effect. But that's definitely something I want to,
Yeah. Have you ever tried meditation? Do you meditate?
No.
Meditation it's for me at least, and it's proven through studies to break you out of like habits that you want to break. If you meditate on a certain subject and you get really good at it, it takes time obviously, but the benefits of meditation are ceaseless. It's incredible. I recommend it to anyone. Like I was never a believer in meditation, and I started this summer, and it's crazy.
So what do you usually do? Do you just like sit in a quiet place?
Good question. I do this thing called box breathing. It's not really meditation. It's more just like focusing on my breath. And box breathing is 4 seconds breathing in, 4 seconds holding it in, 4 seconds breathing it out, and 4 seconds holding it in.
And what does this do? Does this just slow your heart rate down, allow you to reflect?
It slows my breath, allows me to really it forces you to only focus on your breath and focus on your breathing. It doesn't, because if you're counting 4 seconds, you're thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not thinking about any of the other thoughts that are giving you issues or whatever. But yeah, I like to do that outside. I go to Mirror Lake. If you're at Ohio State, Mirror Lake's the spot. I usually do it in the morning when no one's really there.
Yeah, talk about a nice nature place to chill out. That's definitely a good spot.
That's the spot. But yeah, you don't need to like sit like a Buddha and hold your fingers.
Yeah, like that's what everybody thinks about meditation, but it's not. It's more simple than that.
Yeah, I like lay out and just like close my eyes and enjoy the nature around me.
Yeah, and that's cool.
And it could be like 5 minutes 1 week, or it could be 10 minutes every single day, whenever I feel like it, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. That's something I need to get into.
Yeah.
And just, take some time to just reflect, because I feel like it can help with just getting all the weight of life off your back.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on, man. We got to get out of here. They're going to kick us out of the studio. But you want to plug any social media before we go?
Yeah, let's do Twitter. Follow me at Ditch724. That's DITCH724. And if you resonate with my message and any of the stuff I write, like feel free to DM me or like write in the replies. Like I love interacting with people. So,
yeah, it's great. And anything else you want to plug, or is that good?
No, that's it. I don't have it.
All right. Well, follow me on social media at TJ Martino on Twitter and Snapchat, YouTube, Spotify. I am on Spotify now. Podcast and my music. So if you want to follow me there, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and now on TuneIn for your Amazon and Alexa users.
Wow.
Rate me 5 stars, baby. Give me that 5 stars. Nothing more, nothing less. Drop a comment. If you got something to say, subscribe. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on. You'll be on again in the future, and we'll be able to talk more because, Denny Hall's kicking us out. But thanks, subscribe, and we will see you later. Peace.